First Contact and Ultimatum. The Obsidian ships appeared in Earth's orbit without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. 7 massive vessels, each larger than any human spacecraft ever constructed, arranged themselves in a perfect heptagon formation above the planet. Their sleek, angular hulls absorbed light rather than reflecting it, creating void-like silhouettes against the blue backdrop of Earth. For 3 days, they maintained position, silent and observing. Humanity collectively held its breath. Telescopes around the world pointed skyward, news channels ran continuous coverage, and emergency government meetings convened in every nation. Global markets plummeted, religions proclaimed either salvation or doom, and civilians stockpiled supplies while wondering if this was humanity's first contact or final hour. Commander Elena Reyes stood rigid in the main control room of the Global Defense Initiative's headquarters beneath Geneva. At 45, her weathered face told the story of a career military officer who had seen conflict on every continent. None of that experience had prepared her for this. "Still no response to our transmissions," announced Lieutenant Park, looking up from his communication station. "We've tried every frequency, format, and language we can think of." "They hear us," Elena replied, her dark eyes never leaving the main display. "They're just deciding if we're worth talking to." General Cowrie, her direct superior, nodded in agreement, like scientists observing ants. On the 4th day, at precisely 800 UTC, every communication device on Earth, from military channels to civilian phones, received the same message simultaneously. The transmission was delivered in perfect English and repeated in every major language. "People of Earth, we are the Vexari Collective. We come to evaluate your species for potential inclusion in our Galactic Alliance. We request a meeting with your world leaders in 12 hours at your United Nations headquarters." The message was brief, but its implications were staggering. Aliens had not only crossed interstellar space, but had also been studying human communications long enough to master all our languages. "It's too perfect," Elena told General Cowrie as they flew to New York. "Their understanding of our languages, their knowledge of our political structures, they've been watching us for years, maybe decades. Or they have technology that makes such knowledge trivial to acquire," Cowrie replied. The United Nations General Assembly Hall had been hastily prepared for the historic meeting. World leaders filled the chamber, their usual political divisions temporarily set aside in the face of this unprecedented event. When the Vexari delegation entered, a hushed silence fell over the assembly. Their leader, who introduced himself as High Commander Xerex, stood nearly 7 feet tall. His skin shifted between deep purple and midnight blue, with intricate patterns that seemed to flow beneath the surface. His 4 eyes, 2 large primary ones and 2 smaller secondary ones, were entirely black, set in a face with features arranged in ways almost, but not quite, humanoid. "We come in peace," High Commander Xerex announced, his voice melodious, yet carrying an odd mechanical undertone. "The Vexari Collective seeks new civilizations to join our galactic community. We have observed your world and find potential in your species." Commander Elena Reyes, positioned discreetly near the back of the chamber as part of the security detail, watched the aliens with unflinching scrutiny. She noted how Xerex's eyes cataloged everything: the architecture, the security measures, the reactions of the humans present. The 3 other Vexari with him moved with perfect coordination, as if connected by some invisible link. "This isn't diplomacy," she whispered to Lieutenant Park beside her. "It's reconnaissance." The UN Secretary-General welcomed the Vexari with carefully prepared words of peace and cooperation. Xerex responded with similar pleasantries, speaking of mutual benefits and shared knowledge. But Elena noticed that he never directly answered questions about the Vexari homeworld, the extent of their collective, or their technological capabilities. Over the following weeks, the Vexari established an embassy in New York. They promised cultural exchanges, scientific collaboration, and eventually, trade agreements. They spoke of helping humanity solve climate change, disease, and energy shortages. World leaders were cautiously optimistic, and citizens were increasingly excited about the possibilities. Alina didn't share their enthusiasm. They're revealing almost nothing about themselves while learning everything about us, she told General Kari during their secure weekly briefing. They deflect questions about their society, their history, their true capabilities. This isn't an exchange, it's an evaluation. Kari looked troubled. The Security Council is divided. Half want to embrace the Vexari proposals fully. The other half share your concerns but lack concrete evidence of malicious intent. That evidence came sooner than expected. 3 months after their arrival, the Vexari's demeanor changed subtly. Their requests for samples of Earth resources grew larger and more frequent. Their diplomatic language shifted from suggestions to expectations. When the United Nations hesitated to grant access to Antarctica for what the Vexari called environmental research, High Commander Xerex requested an emergency session of the General Assembly. Every television and radio station on Earth suddenly broadcast his message, even those that hadn't agreed to air it. People of Earth, Xerex began, his skin now pulsing with deep crimson hues that hadn't been seen before. The time for preliminary discussions has ended. The Vexari Collective has been patient, but your government's inefficiency no longer serves either of our interests. The UN representatives murmured among themselves, sensing the dramatic shift in tone. Your species has potential that lacks discipline and unity, Xerex continued. The Vexari Collective offers you protection and guidance. In exchange, Earth will supply resources and labor. Refuse, and we will take what we need by force. To demonstrate their power, at that exact moment, every military satellite in Earth orbit went dark. Screens in defense command centers worldwide flashed with alerts. Communication systems failed across the globe. Nuclear missile facilities reported complete system failures. This is a small demonstration, Xerex said calmly. We could have disabled your civilian infrastructure as well, but we chose not to harm the general population. The Vexari Collective is not cruel, merely efficient. He gave Earth's leaders 72 hours to accept the new terms of their relationship before ending the broadcast abruptly. Chaos erupted worldwide. Military bases went to their highest alert status. Civilians panicked, rushing to stores for supplies. Stock markets crashed within hours. An emergency meeting of world leaders convened at a secure underground facility in the Swiss Alps. Commander Alina Reis attended as part of the military advisory team. The room was divided between those who supported immediate surrender to prevent destruction and those who demanded resistance at any cost. When asked for her military assessment, Alina stood, her presence commanding attention despite her average height. The Vexari have superior technology, yes, she began. But today they showed us something important. They feel the need to intimidate rather than simply take. That suggests limitations we can exploit. What limitations could possibly matter? Asked the president of the European Federation. They control our satellites with seemingly minimal effort. Elena walked to the display screen and brought up images of the Vexari ships. Look at their fleet. 7 ships. If they had thousands, wouldn't they show them to frighten us more? They demonstrated control of our satellites and nuclear facilities, but did not destroy them. Why? Perhaps because they want those facilities intact. The room grew quiet as her words sank in. Their demands focus on specific resources: water, rare earth minerals, biological samples. This suggests they need these things. Truly overwhelming power doesn't need anything. It takes everything. Most importantly, they gave us time to decide minus 72 hours. An enemy with absolute power doesn't negotiate or give deadlines. What are you suggesting, Commander? Asked the Chinese premier. I'm suggesting that we appear to consider their terms. We request clarifications, additional details, specific implementation plans, using bureaucracy to buy time. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, we unite our scientific and military resources to study Vexari weaknesses and develop countermeasures. And if we find no weakness to exploit, asked the Russian president. Elena looked at the worried faces of the world leaders around the room. Then at least we'll have tried. I refuse to let humanity become a footnote in the Vexari's history without a fight. As the official channel sent messages of concerned consideration to the Vexari, Commander Rice activated a network of trusted officers in every major military across the globe. Operation Shadow Response had begun, the greatest secret scientific and military collaboration in human history, hidden behind a facade of fear and compliance. The clock was ticking. Humanity had 72 hours to find a way to fight back against an enemy that seemed invincible, or face a future of servitude under alien masters who viewed them as little more than a resource to be harvested. The human response. The underground command center, established beneath an abandoned copper mine in Finland, buzzed with activity. 72 hours had become 2 weeks through careful diplomatic maneuvering. Earth's leaders had sent messages to the Vexari requesting clarification on terms, asking for detailed implementation plans, and citing the need for translation into all Earth languages. Each delay tactic bought precious days for Operation Shadow Response. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the central holographic display, surrounded by the brightest military and scientific minds Earth had to offer. Nations that had been adversaries for centuries now worked side by side, united by the existential threat looming above. High Commander Xerex is losing patience, reported Lieutenant Park, monitoring the latest communication. His skin now stays crimson during all broadcasts. Good, Elena replied. Impatience leads to mistakes. Dr. Aisha Okafor, formerly Africa's leading quantum physicist, approached with a tablet displaying new data. Commander, we've detected something interesting. During their satellite shutdown demonstration, the Vexari ship's energy signatures fluctuated significantly. Their technology requires tremendous power for those large-scale electronic disruptions. So they have limitations, Elena said, a small smile forming. More than that, Dr. Okafor continued. We've analyzed the radiation patterns from their ships. They appear to use a form of quantum field manipulation that creates a kind of technology bubble around them. It's how they shut down our satellites and defense systems, by extending this field to encompass our technology. General Cowrie leaned forward. Can we block it? Not with our current technology, Dr. Okafor admitted. But we might not need to. The field has a range limitation and consumes massive energy. The more they extend it, the more power they burn. That's why they're asking for specific resources, interjected Dr. Wei from China's Advanced Research Division. Our analysis of their requests shows they're particularly interested in rare earth elements and specific isotopes. They need these materials to power their technology. Elena's mind raced with possibilities. So they're not as invincible as they want us to believe. If we can force them to overextend their energy field, or disrupt it entirely, added Dr. Okafor. For the next 3 days, the combined scientific team worked tirelessly on a daring plan. Meanwhile, the diplomatic facade continued. Earth's representatives agreed in principle to the Vexari demands, but insisted on a gradual implementation schedule. High Commander Xerex finally lost patience. Your continued delays are unacceptable, he announced in his latest broadcast, his 4 eyes narrowed in visible frustration. The Vexari Collective will begin resource extraction in 24 hours, with or without your cooperation. To demonstrate our resolve, we will disable a significant portion of your global power grid. Consider it a preview of the consequences of further obstruction. The broadcast ended, and minutes later, power grids across North America and Europe went dark. It's time, Elena told General Cowrie. They're committed now. Are we ready? He asked. We'll have to be. Operation Thunderstrike launched at dawn. While the Vexari expected a desperate military response, or perhaps continued diplomatic pleading, humanity delivered something entirely different. 3,000 small satellites, hastily constructed in secret facilities around the world, launched simultaneously from 500 discrete locations. Too small to be immediately threatening, the Vexari initially ignored them. That was their first mistake. Each satellite contained a simple electromagnetic pulse generator powered by the very rare Earth elements the Vexari coveted. Individually, they were insignificant. Together, they created a global web of pulsing energy designed not to attack the Vexari ships directly but to force them to expand their protective field continuously. They'll have to extend their quantum field to neutralize the satellites, Dr. Okafor explained as they watched the operation unfold. Each expansion requires exponentially more energy. Sure enough, the Vexari ships began to respond, extending their protective field to disable the nearest satellites. As they did, more satellites moved into different positions, forcing the aliens to continuously adjust and expand their field. "They're burning through power reserves," reported Lieutenant Park, monitoring the energy readings. "Their ships are showing strain." The second phase of the operation began. From 20 submarine locations across Earth's oceans, nuclear-powered transmitters activated, sending precisely calibrated electromagnetic frequencies, not to attack, but to resonate with the Vexari's already strained energy field. "It's like pushing a swing at exactly the right moment," Dr. Wei had explained during planning. "We're amplifying the natural oscillation of their field until it becomes unstable." On the command center screens, the Vexari ships visibly shuddered as their energy fields fluctuated wildly, creating visible ripples of distortion around their hulls. High Commander Xerex's face appeared on the communication screen, his crimson skin now pulsing with dark undertones. "What are you doing?" he demanded, genuine alarm in his voice. "Cease this primitive attack immediately. Your species cannot comprehend the forces you're manipulating." Elena stepped forward, facing the alien commander directly for the first time. "We understand perfectly, High Commander. You came to our world believing us to be primitive and easily dominated. You expected us to either surrender immediately or fight foolishly with weapons you could easily neutralize. You never considered that we might understand your technology well enough to use it against you." Xerex's 4 eyes widened. "Impossible. Your species is barely space-capable. Yet here we are." Elena replied calmly. "You should have studied us more carefully before threatening our world. Humans have a particular quality when faced with extinction. We become extraordinarily creative and cooperative." On the monitors, the Vexari ship's energy fields began collapsing as the resonance frequencies from Earth's transmitters perfectly counteracted their stabilizing mechanisms. Secondary explosions rippled across their hulls. "Disable your attack," Xerex demanded, his voice losing its mechanical perfection as systems failed around him. "We can negotiate new terms." "We are negotiating," Elena responded. "These are our terms. Your ships will power down completely. You will surrender all weapons and technological control systems. You will provide full information about the Vexari Collective. Then, and only then, will we discuss your safe passage home." "You would show mercy?" Xerex asked, genuine surprise in his voice. "After our deception." "That's another thing you should have learned about humans," Elena said. "We're capable of both tremendous violence and extraordinary compassion. Which you experience depends entirely on how you treat us." 3 Vexari ships exploded as their containment fields failed completely. The remaining 4, including Xerex's command vessel, powered down as requested. Within hours, Earth forces had secured the alien craft and begun the process of examining their technology. 2 months later, Commander Elena Reyes stood before the United Nations General Assembly, delivering a report on behalf of the newly formed Earth Defense and Exploration Initiative. "The Vexari Collective is not, as they claimed, a dominant galactic power," she explained. "They are one of dozens of spacefaring civilizations, and according to the data we've obtained from their ships, not particularly respected among them. They're essentially resource pirates, targeting developing worlds they believe cannot defend themselves." Murmurs spread through the assembly as screens displayed the first confirmed star map of nearby inhabited systems. "We're not alone in the galaxy, but neither are we the primitive species the Vexari assumed us to be," Elena continued. Their technology, while advanced, was not incomprehensible. Our scientists have already begun adapting their quantum field generators and faster-than-light drive systems for human use. She paused, allowing the implications to sink in. The remaining Vexari have been permitted to send a subspace message to their homeworld, explaining their defeat and our terms. Earth is not to be approached again without explicit invitation. We have retained one ship and 3 Vexari representatives who have agreed to serve as cultural and technological liaisons in exchange for leniency. The Secretary General stepped forward. And what message does this send to other potential visitors to our world, Commander Reyes? Elena's expression remained resolute as she addressed not just the assembly but the entire human race watching via global broadcast. The message is clear. Humanity welcomes peaceful contact and fair exchange with any civilization that approaches us with respect. But those who come with conquest in mind should understand this. We are not easy prey. We adapt. We unite in the face of threats. And we will defend our world with every ounce of creativity, determination, and courage we possess. As she stepped away from the podium, thunderous applause filled the chamber. On screens around the world, celebrations erupted in city streets. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat and emerged not just intact but stronger, more unified, and with a new place in the galactic community. In her private office later that day, Elena reviewed the preliminary designs for Earth's first deep space vessel, constructed using Vexari technology. The ship had been named Defiance, a reminder of humanity's response to those who had underestimated them. Lieutenant Park entered with a data tablet. "Commander, we've decoded more of the Vexari star charts. There are at least 15 other civilizations within reasonable travel distance. Some appear to be far more advanced than the Vexari." "Potential allies?" Elena asked. "Or potential threats," Park replied. "It's impossible to know yet." Elena nodded, looking at the holographic display of stars and planetary systems that had once seemed impossibly distant, but now represented humanity's future. "Then we'll prepare for both possibilities," she said, "because that's what humans do. We hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and never, ever give up without a fight." Above Earth, where 7 Vexari ships had once hung in threatening formation, construction had begun on humanity's first orbital defense platform. Its name was prominently displayed on its outer hull, REGNMBR-ZAREX. The galaxy would soon learn that underestimating humanity was a mistake that would not be made twice.